You, Ed. Thank you, Ed, for asking that question. Bear with me, I'm just trying to adjust my microphone and camera setup. Yes. Hi, everybody, for all those at home. Yes, Brockton, Massachusetts is a center of the news for all the wrong reasons once again. And what we now know is that on August 31st, 2023, the mayor of Brockton issued a statement in writing where he stated that he was advised that there are monies missing and that he wants an external audit to take place of the school department spending. Now, when I look at this, I look at this from a point of view of issues management point of view. And from an issues management point of view, the first thing is that it's important that we understand at what point in time was the mayor at what point in time did the mayor have an understanding that there might have been a financial statement reporting error or an error in the monies. And so right now, that has not been communicated, so we don't know exactly what he knew. And so, from an issues management process point of view, step one is who identified the error. We need to know that. That should be documented. Number two, at what point was that error identified? Point number three is that what was the root cause of the issue? What exactly is the issue? Right now, there is, it's most communications are speculative. We're speculating there's a $14 million deficit. And what does that mean? Does that mean that the school department overspent $14 million? Or was it a case that the school department underreported $14 million? That information is not clear. And so that's why I would recommend that on Wednesday, September 6th, not only is that the first day back at school for Brockton Public Schools, but that's also the next date of the next school committee meeting that will be led by the mayor at 7 p.m. Brockton High School, Little Theater. I'll be there. And during that meeting, he should make this information more known. Exactly at what point was he made aware that there might be some kind of financial reporting error. And he should also, at the moment, he's advised that he's going to hire an external auditor. He should describe what will be the scope of review or scope of services that the external auditors are being hired to perform. I'll give you an example. A scope of services could be limited to just looking at a certain department financial statement activities. It could be limited to looking at a certain period of transactions, maybe from the period of May 15, 2023 until present day, because that is when we received there was a public announcement in the enterprise that advised that the superintendent of schools had advised of a $18 million deficit then. So we want to understand what is the scope of review that the chairman of the school department and the school committee want to delegate to an external auditor. That way, this gives us greater understanding of what is the significance of the external auditor and really what does the mayor know. In addition, looking at it from an issues management point of view, it's important that we understand, once again, who was involved, what transactions were impacted, what are the consequences of this $14 million deficit. Is it a case that there's certain services that will not be able to deliver? Or maybe we will be able to deliver services, but maybe monies need to be transferred from one part of the city budget to another.
But now, even though you say transfer money from another part of, a city budget to this one here, that's still just putting a Band-Aid on the whole situation as far as what we're facing right now. And before you came in, I was saying basically this is what we've been talking about for years. We need that transparency. Everybody's still in the dark. And this is something that's going to affect our children, but not only the children, it's affecting the teachers also. To me, it's a big debacle right now. We knew we had the $18 million deficit. We laid off 130 teachers. Okay, some were getting called back, but at the time they got their calls back, and I heard this from people just yesterday as I'm knocking on doors and talking to people, as they got a call back that they could come back to Brockton High, they had already taken a job into Boston. So these are quality type teachers that we'll never see again because, of course, once you get into Boston, the pay is better and everything else. So we lost all the way around. We're still, even though school opens up on Wednesday, we're still in a big deficit of our teachers right now, you know, and so again, I mean, it's just, you know, I'm concerned. You know, I heard the mayor said at his press conference that he was dismayed. Well, I'm a concerned citizen. Forget being a candidate. I'm a concerned citizen because of the fact that this has widespread consequences.
And absolutely, and I agree with what you're saying, Gary. And that's the significance of the city of Brockton adopting an issues management plan for managing the situation. That way, it gives the public greater assurance that we have effective management over our school department. Another step in the issues management process is important that we understand is the importance of risk mitigation. Once we understand the root cause of the issue, and that the mayor and the school committee formulate a risk management plan of how to mitigate the situation and prevent it from reoccurring in the future. Right. And at the moment, we really don't know what the root cause of the issue is. We don't know how big of the error is. We don't know if it's a $14 million deficit or maybe an $18 million deficit. Right. So once again, that's something that we will only get comfortable with after understanding the feedback from the external auditors.
But here's a question.
Well, one of the things, when I was reading, I think on Friday night, Mike Thomas did an interview with the Enterprise, and he said the money didn't disappear. It was spent on, but it was just so general the way he said it, spent on teachers, spent on the students. And it's like, well, how do you spend money you don't have?
Right.
I mean, I know it's very easy because now you have a line of creditors out the door that you owe money to because nothing's paid COD. I'm surprised, though, that hasn't happened yet.
And Ed, and I second your observation. I think that's why it's also important, reiterating the importance of us understanding the scope of review that the mayor and the school committee want an external auditor to perform over this topic, this issue.
Do you think that we should, I know this is the issue at hand right now, I'm talking about the school budget, but does it, with anybody else, does it resonate in your spirit at all that maybe we should do a complete audit of what's going on, the complete budget from top to bottom? Because if this is happening there, how much more? I mean, it could be in another department also that we haven't even touched the surface of.
That's a good question you asked, Gary. And what I would say is that the notification of a $14 million deficit in the Brockton School Department is actually a symptom of, once again, we need to find out what the root cause is.
I got a call coming in. I do have an interview that I'm doing, and someone wrote a book, but I hope you can stick around and we can continue after the interview.
Sure.
Okay, great. You're up. They'll call back.
One thing I also want to highlight was the levels of oversight that failed as it pertained to the review over the school budget. The first, if you think about it, let's walk through it. So we have a CFO over the school department, Aldo.
Right.
So he prepares the budget. He then prepares that for the superintendent, Mike Thomas, who would conduct the initial review.
Correct.
After Mike Thomas, then you have the school committee who conducts their review, and you have 7 school committee members.
Exactly.
And then you've got the mayor, who's the chairman of the school department. Did he conduct a review? Did he have an understanding of the budget? Now, on top of that, you have the city council that conducts the overall review of the overall city budget, and at no point should they just be delegating the responsibility to the school committee alone to conduct a review. And on top of the city council, then you have the city auditor, who's conducting reviews over all financial transactions. So we're talking about a headcount of about at least 21 people. 21 people in the city of Brockton who had oversight responsibility and ensuring. And so I'm very concerned that 21 people could have potentially missed this.
Yes.
And so this is where we want to understand what is the root cause of the issue. We want to get it in writing so that we can implement the appropriate risk mitigation steps. It might be a case to prevent this from happening again in the future. Maybe the mayor needs to hire one additional staff member who is familiar with auditing, who can provide him with greater counsel. Maybe the mayor, and not to say anything negative, maybe he doesn't understand how to review a financial statement, or maybe he doesn't understand the process from the time when a financial transaction is initiated to all the touch points and risk points until that data is reflected in the financial statements. And it's okay if he doesn't have that education, but at least he can hire the right staff in place who do.
Right.
You're on the air with Stand Up Strong. Who's this?
Alberto, City of Brockton, a local resident.
How you doing?
On this wonderful topic that is going on for the head.
And Allie, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. So when I've been listening to the show, it's been very articulate. I think you said at least Gary and Jamal has been speaking. And as a resident, it's very concerning because the highlight of the topic is the budgeting in regards to the $14 million question. But myself as a resident, right, we're tax voters. I've been in Brockton for over 23 years, acclimated, and we don't realize that just as a recent mission that was disclosed about over 21 key individuals under the City Hall bracket umbrella, this all fell into the hands. And we are the voters who elect and choose the individual parties that are here. Some are long-term, some are re-elected, some continuously stay on board. So when we question, I'm not sure who it was speaking, but I believe it may have been Jamal, to even make a statement that the mayor may not completely understand, that is huge. Because we're not talking about new individuals sitting in City Hall. We're talking about well-seasoned individuals. And when I'm thinking about this one matter, I'm thinking about overall all matters, all departments, and all budgeted and monies that come into the City Hall. And my question is this: how do we as local residents have the ability as City Hall servants, us in the community, to inquire or establish an individual entity of questions of whether it's quarterly,
Allie, I have a call coming in.
What's going on with the finances in City Hall?
And if you can remember that question.
I will.
I'm going to have to hang up, Allie.
Thank you, Allie. You made a good point.
You're on the air with Stand Up Strong. Who's this?
Oh, hi, this is Sophia.
Hi, Sophia. Now, your last name is Desmoines. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, Desmoines, yep.
And I'm sorry, Allie, I know you're listening ahead of here, but I did have another interview coming in. But they understand your question. I'm going to do a great interview with Sophia, who is a Brockton resident who actually wrote a children's book. I think it was called Who I Am.
It's called I Know Who I Am.
I Know Who I Am. And I tried to read a little bit about it, but I want you to explain it. But first, what made you decide just to write a book, or write a book about your children?
I always felt like it was a desire to write a book. I have two sons that have gone through significant health issues, and I always thought maybe I would write about that process. But as my oldest, started to navigate through the grades, and I started to realize, there's just so many negative influences out there, and we don't realize that subconsciously they are affecting our children. So I just thought, let's write a book to try to encourage other kids.
Now, if I understand it correctly, I didn't get to read the whole thing. I could only find a little online. But it did seem like a book of self-esteem as they're growing up. Can you explain a little on that? Because it seems like there's more things. And this is back, in the last century when I was a kid. It was always you're more or less being told, "Oh, you can't do that, and you can't be that." And I think your book kind of turns that on its head, where be what you want to be and work hard to become that. Did I understand that part of the book correctly?
Yes, exactly. So it's all about not letting other people define who you are, what you can be, but you looking deep down inside of yourself and realizing that I have so many great qualities about myself, and I can be good at a lot of things. I might not be good at everything, but let me focus on the things that I am good at, and let me try to develop myself and build up my self-esteem and build up my character without focusing so much on the negative.
Now, was there any one issue? I know you have two sons. Was it 8 and 10?
So I have 4 boys,
Oh, okay.
10, 8, and a pair of 2-year-old twins.
Okay. And was there any one issue that made you stand up and say, don't listen to other people, don't listen to them? Or is it just...
I would say that my oldest used to just engage in a lot of negative self-talk. And he had, some students that were not the nicest. last year, and I would always just say to him, you know, like, they don't know who you are, they don't get to define who you are, and so I really just wanted to encourage him in the midst of that situation.
Okay, and can you tell us the premise of the book? Is it a story of two boys, or is it just a
It's
genre?
just the one boy going on a journey, letting people know who he is, and he uses rhyming and uses words from A through Z. So every page he uses a word, and it's bolded in the book to highlight what he's saying about himself on that page.
Okay, and if someone wants to purchase this book, is it how can they
Yes, so
purchase
if
it?
somebody wants to purchase it, they can go on Amazon.com. It's also available at BarnesandNobles.com and Walmart.com. So it's also available at like local bookstores or libraries. The online is probably your best bet if you want to get it quick.
Okay, because a couple of people have put in my screen they're looking forward to getting the book. So is it Amazon or?
Yeah, Amazon. I would go with Amazon. Yes.
Okay. So again, you can get it on Amazon, and can you tell people the name of the book again? And just a quick premise, and I'm very happy you call in. I want you to keep us informed. You have an open invitation to call if you have book signings or someone else, decided to go to the next step and have it published through a company. We want to know. We want Brockton to know that something's great is coming out of Brockton. And unfortunately, we're discussing the issue of the school department. So I think, especially you calling in now, is letting my audience know that there are good things here in Brockton. So you give them again how they can get the book if they want to purchase it, and and the name of the book again.
So it's called I Know Who I Am. It's available on Amazon. I am going to be doing a book reading at the Brockton Library in November, but feel free to visit my website. If you want to contact me, it is Sophia, Sophia, Desmornes, DESMORNES.com.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling in. Again, keep us informed. I want to know.
Yes,
I
will.
especially
Thank you
want.
so much.
I especially want to know when they make this into a motion picture where we can go see
Yes.
it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for calling in. And you were listening to Sophia Desmornes. Wrote a great book for children. Look it up. Get it on Amazon. And I want to get back to her. And I'm glad this call came in. Because here we are, and it's just depressing of talking about $14 million.
Yes.
We don't know where it is. This is the good things that are happening in Brockton. It's happening all around us.
Yes.
So, and those are the things we want to hear. Again, in I think a few weeks we have the Salisbury Park Festival.
Next Saturday.
Next Saturday, and
Yes.
it's a great time, and you should get down there, and you find out a lot of people who are doing great things for the city. But let's get back to this.
Do you mind if I address that last caller?
Go ahead.
Allie. Allie.
What's the name?
Allie.
Yeah.
I just wanted to state.
And Allie, again, I'm sorry I hung up. We got your question, but again, I had to take the call because it was the interview. I would never
Because
hang
we
up
have
on
Brockton's real auditor right here,
Right, we
so I'm
have
just
an
gonna get
auditor,
this out
right,
here.
yeah.
But I want to say that I agree with Allie that the elected officials that we have right now are seasoned veterans. They are not new to this, okay? To where we don't have a bunch of rookies over there. And the thing about it is that I keep saying for myself that the powers that be, I feel, have tried to keep myself and anyone else that is considered like an outsider off of being elected. Okay, not all of them are bad. Some are kept some of us out of there purposely by doing whatever means necessary. And the reason and the thing I think is that when people go to the polls this on the 19th, they need to remember this because of the fact that if you had some people who were outsiders like ourselves, right, we're not in with the in crowd, you can't really get away with everything sliding right through because we're going to scrutinize it because we're not going to be a rubber stamp for those that are already sitting in the seats. Okay? And I believe that that's why you have some elected officials that will basically handpick who they want to be in the seats. And I think that basically that keeps everything, basically as the good old boy network. I mean, let's call it what it is, and we don't need that. We need to go ahead and elect some people basically that are all going to have and bring a different perspective to the table, not, all be so friendly with each other that we just go along, with each other, whatever each other wants, we just go ahead and stamp it. That's what we need to do.
Yep. And the second, what Gary just said, and to once again going back to Allie's question, Allie was, I believe her question really was, what can we do as residents? And I think there's two things that we can do as residents. Number one is that we got to go out and vote on Tuesday, September 19th and Tuesday, November 7th. I got to highlight in Brockton, we got a population of 106,000 people. 61,000 people are registered to vote, and only about 11,000 vote. So 50,000 residents in Brockton are registered and do not vote. So in Brockton, the issue is not registering the people to vote. The issue is getting people to participate to vote. So if you ever had any pride in Brockton or a spirit to improve the community of Brockton, please act like it and step up and encourage your family, your friends, your residents, your neighbors to go out and vote and to be informed on the issue. So number one action point is to vote. The second action point is to stay involved and informed of what's going on. For all those parents out there, you're worried about, your kids and ensuring that they're going to get the best education possible. Well, in this case, it starts with making sure that the schools are adequately funded and adequately managed. And the reality is that your elected officials are not going to identify a topic as a priority if you're not talking about it, if you're not reaching out to them, if you're not engaged with them. So you want to be involved, you want to get engaged, and you want to be talking about these issues around your dinner table, because this is really impacting the underlying stakeholder, which is our children.
Just keep on what you're saying is a lot of people saying, well, it doesn't matter if I vote, they don't do anything I want, because you don't get out there. If we can get, if we have 61,000, I say if we can't get 55,000 to come out and vote in any election, but in our city election, which directly affects our lives, then it's not the people who are voting or who are winning. It's the people who aren't going out there and vote.
Hey.
Fred, I wanted to ask. Yeah, actually,
let me answer also. Because the two gentlemen already mentioned everything. But let me tell you something. The future of Brockton.
Well, I was going to ask you because I want you're the businessman. You own multiple businesses, and I'm going to say multiple successful businesses.
Of course, yes.
Which is very hard to do. You have to make sure you know all your pies, what all your pies are doing, though you have people there, I'm assuming, who are baking the pie. You're just making sure they do it correctly. But as a businessman who has to look at how could you miss something like that? I know it's not going to happen, but how could something like that be? But it does with some people because they're all over the place. How can something like that be missed if they were trying to pay attention?
Let me tell you something. Such thing happen sometime when people are too comfortable, So you're comfortable, you think everything running fine for you, and so you don't pay attention. As a mayor or maybe city councilors, whoever's in charge, you're supposed to be every time be in your guard. As a businessman myself, any mistake I make, I'm supposed to pay for it. And remember that. The future of Brockton is at stake right now. The school department is at stake for the 2 years coming up. Like Gary mentioned it and Jamal just mentioned it. If we don't pay attention, we're gonna be going down the drain, because most of those guys, they just gonna be retired. And if you give me 2 years, I'm gonna be retired. I'm telling you. I will do whatever I want because I know I'm gonna be gone in the next 2 years. So, as a businessman point of view, I think we're supposed to think on replacing everybody. If somebody make a mistake like that, I'm replacing from the top to down. Even me, I would be retired myself. I'll just completely say, hey, this is my fault. I'll take the blame, because this is make you a man to take the blame, and then go down to everybody else who's after you. This is the best way to show that you are a concerned leader, to see that, hey, this is my fault because I was in charge. That's the best way to really show the population that you really care for them, and the children who just gonna be not having those teachers that we just 530 of them, and more of them now going away. This is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You know what else I'm concerned about right now because of the fact that all of our focus is on this money that's missing.
Mhm.
But the other issue that we haven't talked about lately because it's come up is the fact that the acquisition of the fairgrounds. Now, I'm not trying to bring that up and put it into it, but the thing is that, and I'm not going to speak on whether I'm for or against at this time here, right? Because I think there's some pros and cons on that as far as it's good for the city, okay, if it's done correctly. The thing is that we're not even talking about that right now, but where does our confidence level go now? You know, when people start talking about $55 million to purchase the fairgrounds, when we're still looking for $14 million and stuff. So now you got to scratch your head and say, you know, are we just idiots, for lack of a better word, to where, okay, we're looking for $14 million, but go ahead and take out another loan for $55 million? I mean,
Right.
give us some transparency. Give us some credibility that we're not idiots, okay? That we're smart human beings, because Brockton is very smart. We got smart people here, right? And the thing is that you know, we want to see what's going on, and we know when we're being duped. Come on, don't play us like that. You know, that's like you talking to me and lying to me to my face, and yet what do you see on my forehead? Boo Boo the Fool.
Right. Yeah. And
You know?
And I want to second what Gary just said. Is the importance of, and I think this goes back to the documenting the issue management, so we understand the total impact that this is having. I mean, could be a scenario where maybe we can't even financially afford as a city to acquire a new asset at the price of $55 million in the same period that we might, or when in the prior period we have a shortfall of 14 million that was unbudgeted for. So once again, it's really important that we document this issue in a very professional capacity, and so that we understand what we can afford and really where we failed as an organization, so that we know how we need to improve our management. Because right now there's a crisis of management in the city of Brockton as it pertains to managing our school department and potentially City Hall.
The bottom line, Ed, is I believe the bottom line, the mayor is supposed to come over clearly to explain to the population exactly where that 14 million, how did it spend? How did we spend? How did they spend it? Because obviously nobody knows. If it come clear, I think it'd be fair to everybody.
One thing I've noticed, and I think this is all communities, but especially in Brockton, we're always saying we don't have the money, we don't have the money, we don't have the money. But somehow when we do need the money, it just appears.
Oh, yes.
It's just there, and they can find it. It's in this account or that account. I don't know, but that always seems the issue. The other thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I always look at like city government, or a lot of government, is like just a hydra of arms just all over the place, because our police department isn't having funding problems, our fire department and all the others. So the money is there. It's just now we're having this issue. It just seems like things just come around and end up clearing itself. And sometimes it's a little strange. Like, I'm going to be very interested in if we actually find where $14 million went. Because it went somewhere.
Right, and I'm optimistic.
And you're more experienced than I am.
I want to highlight to the public that this situation is manageable. A $14 million shortfall is manageable. Let's put it in the larger context. When you think about the overall city budget, it's $500 million. So $14 million is about 3% of our overall city budget. $14 million is about 7% of our school budget. Our school budget is approximately $229 million. So 14 million is 7%. So when you look at it from that point of view, from a city point of view, I mean, 14 million is a lot of money, but from a materiality point of view, you know, we've still got 97% of the budget.
And I got a call coming in.
Yeah.
You're on the air with Stand Up Strong. Who's this?
Yes, hi, good evening. Good afternoon. My name is Marie. I am a voter. I'm a consent resident of Brockton, and I have teenage sons. And I want to know, this happened, is it because Brockton is because of minority children and parents? Is it because we're mostly black, Haitian, and Caribbean? Because if this was in Cambridge, in Belmont, in Bella Rica, this would never happen. I don't understand. I want to know what's going on. I want to hear from the mayor. He's not addressing this problem. We're minorities, we're Haitian, we're black. Is this the reason why he allowed this to happen?
I would disagree with that.
Upsetting.
Yeah,
We get the
that I
least.
agree with.
We do the most. We pay our taxes. We work, and we get the least for our children. This is ridiculous. Somebody has to answer it.
Yeah.
Okay, Maria, thank you for calling in. I think Gary is chomping at the bits to answer that question. Thank you for calling in.
Because hi Marie, I agree with you 100%. You know, where we are a minority, a majority minority city, and me being as a African American male right here in this city, the thing is that we're not less than, okay? And transparency again needs to be at the forefront of this whole thing. Do not just think that we're so less than that you can just not tell us what's going on, or you can tell us anything and we're going to believe it. You know, the thing is that, like I said, we're very intelligent people. We have a strong resolve, Black, Haitian, Cape Verdean, okay, and our white population too. I mean, we got Guatemalans and everything else. We have a melting pot, which was to make Brockton so great, okay? But please, 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 do not keep us in the dark on things, because we're more than that, okay? We are Brockton. We say we're the city of champions, okay? Treat us as such, okay? Please do not treat us like, you know, we're just dumb, for lack of a better word.
One of the things I want to bring in, and I agree with Maria on the most part, but the thing is, it always comes back to voting.
Yes.
You know,
it does.
Yes.
We know that seniors, and this is everywhere, seniors are the ones who come out and vote every election, every primary, and if we had 3 more elections in a year, they'd vote in that one too. When you sit at home, and this is the problem with Brockton, because I'm going to guess, well, maybe the numbers will change now because of what happened. But in this primary, I was looking at about 8 to 10,000, because that's about the average that come out to vote out of 61,000 registered voters. That's the problem. That's the problem where it starts. And I don't blame my elected officials. Well, I do, of course, but I don't blame them, because I'm blaming the 50,000 people who didn't come out and vote in the primary.
In addition, I just want to add another contributing factor that I think could have been a part of the underlying current that led to this outcome. It has to do, and I said it before, but I'm going to say it again. It has to do with the attitude of our elected officials, the attitude on what level of detail they're willing to look at and review. I'll give you an example. On Monday, May 15, 2023, the Enterprise had published an article stating that the superintendent of schools in Brockton had identified that there's an $18 million deficit that will result in the layoffs of 130 staff. Now, subsequently after that, on Thursday, June 15th, 2023, the City Council reviewed and approved the city budget, which included the school department's budget. Now, prior to the approval on that Thursday, there was a public hearing for anyone in the public who cared about the school budget, the city budget, and ensuring that it reflected resident priorities. Now, during that hearing, maybe less than 10 residents actually got up to speak out of a population of 106,000 people. Now, the significance of that public hearing is it's an opportunity for the City Council to receive input from the public prior to them approving the budget. Now, during that meeting, I had asked the City Council many questions, starting with, can we first understand how much available funds exist in the City of Brockton before approving this budget? That question was never answered by the City Council. They never asked it later on. They just went on to approve the budget. I also had asked the importance of, can we identify how the city budget can assist the school budget, because we know there is going to be layoffs of 130 teachers. Maybe we need to reevaluate this at the city council level. But please note that not a one city councilor at all spoke up to say, hey, let's look at this before we approve the budget. Exactly. Please note that the budget did not need to be approved on Thursday, June 15th. In fact, the deadline, I believe, was the 2 Mondays later. I think it was like approximately the week of June 26th.
So there was no rush on
There was no rush, but the city councils, because they're in the practice of saying yes, they can't stop saying yes. That I'm concerned that they're saying yes and approving city council items without properly understanding it and doing the proper due diligence. And so that's where I think residents are getting disservice. And that's why I want every single Brockton resident who cares about the future of our children and the future of our roadways and the future of public services for the city of Brockton to really go out and vote. And please come and identify a candidate that you believe in, reach out to them and help them to raise awareness regarding the campaign so we can make a difference here in the city of Brockton.
Let me just take that in
go
so
ahead,
we could go after that. So Mary just make a good statement. You know, sometimes most of those leaders who's in charge of Brockton, they just estimated, you know, the population who's really the majority in now. Unfortunately, they complain about everything, but we don't vote. Some of them don't vote. This is why exactly as mentioned to you, Mary, because if you vote, it's easy to get rid of those folks, get some new folks. We get two good ones right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so we could do that. And people like me, we get to make sure we replace those folks because they're too relaxed, too complacent, you know, they don't pay attention to you. So go out on September 19 and November 7.
And if I may, real quick, I just say, as I'm walking through the Ward 3, and I'm talking to the residents there, I let them know that, and I've seen this because I've talked to these gentlemen on, you know, a regular basis. The thing is that I'm just a mouthpiece for the residents of Ward 3. You know, I need to hear their issues, their concerns, their goals, okay, their dreams, and everything else, so I can actually represent them properly. See, when you, like what Jamal just said, when you're sitting up there in the council and you're asking people to come, right, and they don't get a chance to, their questions are not answered, you know, during a budget hearing or something like that, then you're not their voice piece. You're just speaking for them, with, you know, and making it. So really, that's coming from you. You're not really representing the residents and citizens of Brockton. You're making your own decision, that's wrong.
There's an old saying, your vote counts. I don't, that's true, but it's really a little different, and it should be saying you count when you vote. Because when someone who's running, and we've seen politics enough, if you're someone who's going to complain because you don't want something and you need something, and you don't vote, you don't count because you're not going to, no one's going to listen to you. And is that right or wrong? Well, that's a constitutional republic. You have to get out there and vote for your representatives. That's a problem I think Brockton has had. Has had it long before I moved into the city. And it's just perpetuating. How are you going to get people to say, if you want to count, go vote?
But Ed, even the ones that don't vote, right, I hear a lot of the elected officials using the word constituents. Constituents are the ones that vote for you, okay?
Yeah.
And once you're elected, whether they voted for you or they voted for the other guy, right, or they didn't vote at all, they still need representation. And if you're going to be elected and you're going to do it for the right reasons, it doesn't matter whether they voted or not. We want them to vote, but they still count, okay? And you have to represent them.
So we got about 3 more minutes. I want to give you each one a couple of minutes to let you know what's happening with your campaigns. You're having any fundraisers? You're going to be anywhere? Jamal, why don't we start with you?
Yes, hi everyone. My name is Jamal Brathwaite. I'm running for Brockton City Council at large. If you want an auditor in the city of Brockton, please vote for me for City Council. I am hosting a campaign fundraiser on Thursday, September 14th, 2023 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Ann's Palace, located at 277 Main Street. And please come, bring an appetite. You're welcome to come and engage about what's going on in the city, or just to meet me, just hang out, have a couple beverages. But even prior to that, reach out to me as soon as possible if you'd like to be more involved with my campaign. My phone number is 774-428-1525. Just call me directly anytime a day. And please, if you'd like to donate, go to votejamal.com, to donate to the campaign so we can raise greater awareness regarding my campaign and how we want to improve the city of Brockton. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Fred?
Hi, my name is Fred Fontaine. I'm running to become the next mayor of Brockton. And basically my campaign, and I'm going fine. And Ed, like you mentioned it, my next fundraising gonna be September 16th at Joe Angelo from 6 to 9. My webpage is Brathwaite for Brockton.com if you want to know more about me. And basically, go out and vote September 19 and November 7. So good luck to folks who's listening, and thank you very much.
And Gary?
And I'm Gary Keefe Sr., and I'm running to be your next Ward 3 City Councilor. And I ran in the past. I've sat on the planning board and the zoning board, so I'm not new to this. Most of you know who I am, but my heart is in it. My heart is in it to represent you. I want to be your voice piece, and I'm not looking for any other position. I'm not looking to move up or anything else. If I'm elected, I will be your Ward 3 councilor for as long as you continue to vote me in. And you will do that because of the fact that if I'm elected, I will do the job. You can reach me at 774-257-3827, or it's on my cards. Everyone knows how to reach me. And I'm looking forward to any question that you may have. Call me. I do answer my phone, and you will see me in the neighborhoods. Thank you very much.
And right now, Stand Up Strong has been doing its best to getting the people who are in the primaries interviewed. We're also doing it on Brockton Community Access. I still have a few more interviews that I'm going to be doing, hopefully get them up before the primaries. But there are many people who are going to be running but aren't in the primary. If you're one of those people, get in touch with Stand Up Strong. I'm going to be trying to get in touch with you if the elections are Tuesday, I'm going to be calling you on a Wednesday because I want to get you on. I want everybody to get a chance, let it be an incumbent or a candidate. We got to get people out there to vote. We got to get 50,000 people in our primary.
Yes.
And that's all up to you.
Yes.
You're listening to Stand Up Strong. We'll be back next week. I hope you enjoyed the show today, and I hope you like the new hours. I know I do. And we'll talk to you later. Everybody, you have a beautiful, beautiful day.
Thank you. Have a good long weekend.